Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Forget Flashing Blade. I'm your host, Dave. FFB will be bringing you battle reports on Warmachine Hordes tabletop game played by the members of the South Jersey Scrum League. This first game was round 2, played by Gibby and me. It was by far the worst game that you will ever watch, and I wish I could say that we were smash drunk while playing, but I assure you we were sober as can be and were just plain stupid. Gibby dropped his Harkovich list, Kador faction, Jaws of the Wolf Team. Now, most people, including me, feel that the broadside is a trap, but after watching him play a few games, he's come up with a list that I think takes advantage of it. With 4 destroyers running up the board and getting a shot off is not a horrible first turn. As far as I've known Gibby, too, he's always played a Yuri and a Manhunter, and he's always played them really well. I really like the Kazi Assassins. They're great to take over a zone, remove any objectives, remove any contesting units. In the future games, that's what they will do, and that's what they're going to do well. On his list, it's a Harkovich 1, Destroyer, 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 Springen, Manhunter, Widowmaker Marksman, Yuri the Axe, Kazi Assassins Underboss, and then the Widowmaker Scouts. In this game, I dropped my Old Witch 2 list, Kador faction, Warnegard theme. This list is set up to be my assassination list. I've been using it for assassinations, or trying to use it for assassinations, but what I'd like to start doing is learning how to use it for different aspects of the game. I'd like to use it as a plan B for the assassination, and if my opponent gives me the opportunity, I'll go in for it, but mostly try plan A as attrition or scenario and go from there. It starts with Old Witch 2, Victor, Kalvinic Joe, Winterguard Artillery Capitan, second Winterguard Artillery Capitan, Lady Iana and Master Holt, Valachev to trigger the Lady Iana's Kiss, Winterguard Mortar Crew, another Winterguard Mortar Crew, Winterguard Rifle Corps Minimum with 3 rockets, Winterguard Rifle Corps Minimum with 3 rockets, and Winterguard Rifle Corps Minimum with 3 rockets. Alright, so I won the die roll, so I get set up. I chose to set up first. Gibby chose the side that had cloud effects and pretty good shooting protection, I think. My ultimate goal whenever I play this list is put Old Witch in the center, Victor on either side. I have been splitting the 2 mortar crews on either side of Victor and then one on the Old Witch's side, but I find that sometimes it just makes it so that I can't wind up using one of the mortar crew. So I tried this time to put both on the same side so that if I do get the assassination, I can get both of them to get a shot off and hopefully take out the caster. I set up 2 of the rifle corps and the rockets on the other side of Old Witch. And this is one of the parts where you definitely are going to think we were not, or at least I was not thinking at all. I had 2 jacks that should not be, they're not even in the list. Destroyer and Drago. It was my second list. I don't know why I grabbed them and even threw them on there, but probably just bullshitting too much and decided to throw those guys up there. We do remove them before we even start the game, so we're pretty so it doesn't really affect the game state too much. I don't move any of the models over there. On the bottom half of this, I do put the 3rd rifle crew with the 3 rockets. Kalvinic Joe's over there with them. I know it's a little difficult to see with my black painted or black primed models, but maybe next time we'll play on the snow mat so they can really pop out on them. So Gibby sets up 10 inches up the board. He winds up putting his destroyers all kind of together, and then with Springen and Harchef with him as well. He's got some advanced deployments with those Widowmakers, and that's Mark taking pictures. I'm sure he's going to use to blackmail us later. He does put the Kazi Assassins up on the top half of the board. And this part I do get a little confused. I noticed he was trying to put the advanced deploy the rifle core up top. I thought that was probably a better choice, but he wanted to put him on the bottom afterwards. I think it's just a whole point of scoring and so on and so forth. So turn one, I wind up giving power boost and Old Witch, and I go with the mortar crews first. They run up the board, 6 inches. Do the capitans and give them the clear orders. So then I go ahead and activate this unit Winter Guard. I do want to run them up, but I don't want to run them up too far with the whole run the destroyers up and get to shoot with broadside, but they still, even with what I wanted to try to do with Old Witch, which is great, is the pick the arcane mechana of the extended control range and then do Windstorm, so I can shorten his shooting range, but he winds up getting just out of the control range so that he's able to kind of drift some AoEs in there. I moved Joe and gave the green unit of Winter Guards tough. Go and activate Old Witch. Choose the Arcana for extended control range. Measure it out, try to see where he might have to be, and then cast Windstorm. I go with Victor next, it looks like. And I take a shot at the Manhunter and try to do some drifts. And I believe we wind up not really going anywhere. Yeah, goes forward. But it does, I do lay the rough terrain down. And I go ahead and I activate Ion and Halt. They move with the Zephyr action from Karchev. Then I move them up 6. Go around the acid pool so they don't have to get any corrosion. Activate this top Winter Guard and move them up so that we're within basically shooting range next turn. I do find that I probably could have gone second in this game, now that I think about it, only because he does have shooting on his side, and I shouldn't really rely on the Windstorm extended control range from Old Witch. People can just really stay out of that 18 inches and still shoot the 14. And I give him targets to do it, especially when he's just AoEs. He's just going to try to drift into me anyways. And that doesn't, the Windstorm extended control range doesn't really affect that. So I could have gone second on this one and then been able to shoot into him. So Joe starts off, he's going to go with his Winter Guard, and he only pulls one up. I don't know why he was so reserved with them. He could have really pulled them up and picked off all my rockets and an extra dude or two. But maybe he feared he just would have lost them to the mortar crew or the rifle corps the next turn. Yeah, we measure out just to make sure that he's not in the 18 inches. He goes ahead and starts running up his destroyers. And this is where I think the broadside really does come in. Run up these destroyers, right? Keep them outside of, if it's Old Witch, keep them outside of her extended control range. He's going to cast broadside, and then all 4 of those dudes get to shoot. Not great rats for it. He can't boost or you know, really help his rat out at all. But really, it's just all a matter of drifting. And when you have a lot of dudes like I do on the other side of the board, drifting is a thing. And you'll see here he takes out 2 of my rockets, and I think that's key for this game right now. So we determined that the top 3 are within her Old Witch's control range, so they will be affected, but the bottom one is not. And like I said, this is where he gets that good drift, and just takes out a couple. He actually takes out the one of the mortar crews, and winds up taking out the rockets and the couple rifle corps. He's trying to figure out if he can take a shot into Old Witch, but we determined that, measured out again, but just determined that that destroyer and the other top 2 are also in her control range and will negate, or not negate, but give his range a -5, bringing it to a 9. So the top 3 pretty much just drift into nothing. I think this is about the time when I start to determine that, you know, he moved that Manhunter and Yuri up. Just eyeballing it, I am definitely within the range of charging one of them. I believe I needed to do Boundless Charge on Old Witch to get to them, but I could trigger off this assassination. And I try to start to formulate whether we can or not. I believe the conversation starts to become, what is Harkovich? So excuse me, Harkovich, when he is base to base with the model. Gibby was under the impression it was girded, but we do come to find out when I do go to cast Scourge, I do ask the question, and if he can be knocked down or not, which I should have asked before I even moved her up the board. And if he can be knocked down, he checked the card, and turned out he does become steady, or at least cannot be knocked down for the rule that him being base to base to his jack. So this is where, again, where we find out that we were either really drunk or just completely stupid playing this game, mostly on my side of it all. And then, so I go for the blind, I go for the charge, I go for the charge, I roll the charge roll, and I completely miss this Manhunter, which is completely understood. With Tree Hunter and everything, I believe he gets the +2s from being in the forest. So he, yeah, it's got a pretty high defense. We're not going to hit him, but we don't really care. And I'm sitting here starting to count out my focus just to make sure, because I did have to use a focus to Boundless Charge. Wanted to make sure that I would have enough focus to boost the blind and also boost the Scourge. There has definitely been some discussion on what orders I should be doing this. Comes to find out that if I don't have to Boundless Charge, what I found in the experiences of running this list is that if I don't have to Boundless Charge and cast that one, use that one focus, I would try to Scourge first, boost it, and then Scourge a second time to try to get it off if I can't. Now, mind you, with her feat, she's getting rerolls for the attacks, so we always have that to fall back on as well. But in this game, I actually did not have to. My dice were very, very friendly, at least at this part, for hitting, and I was able to hit off with all of Old Witch's blind, Scourge, and or everything I needed. knocking down that destroyer was good because it did open up the line of sight for my other other units and for Victor, so that I didn't need to really move them around as much. I did need to move Victor though because his distance was not 20 inches. So we rolled some good dice. We were getting some good hits on him. I was feeling pretty comfortable that this was going to go on my side of the game and everything. So I started doing some more measurements. I believe I found out this is where Victor needed to. He was just a hair out, I believe. So he moves up. He takes his shot. It turns out he's rat zero with the inaccurate right now. So he needed to roll 12s with Harkovich being at a defense 12 right now. So I boosted it, and there's going to be a lot of ahs you'll see because I've come with conclusions that I could have did this, could have done that, but I didn't. But I do hit with Victor. Wind up doing, I believe it was -3, so it was a good 5 damage there. Start doing the mortar crews. We had given the Capitons, gave them the +2 to hit, but this is also where I failed. Did not do the deviations, nor did I probably would have remembered. Did not do the deviations on either one of those, or would I have remembered that I could re-roll the deviations if I wanted to because of the artillerists giving them the +2 and also re-rolls on any of that. I go with the rocket, start looking at the rifle crew. Really could only get, I believe, 2 rifle corps and the rocket up into Harkovich, sorry. Had activated Joe, give them a +2 just to hit. Which again, in hindsight, could have given that to the mortar crew as well, because these rockets really didn't need to roll those. Let's dice off 6 on this, and I actually rolled pretty good on this one. Did some pretty good damage on him. Yeah, needed a 3 to hit on that one, and I rolled a 3. So again, dice were good on the hits, and I did nothing. Got him down to 1 box. So I start to contemplate on what I can do. I know next turn, Old Witch is pretty much toast. Scrapjack's going to get his legs cut off, and they're just going to, hammer into Old Witch like a nail on a board. So try to alleviate a little bit. I start going after some of the Kazi assassins, move my rockets up there, try to drift and kill those. I did put Kiss on top of the Springin and contemplating on just rocketing the Springin out and get some army points. But honestly, I just, at this point, thought that maybe possibly just getting in the zone and seeing if he rolled poorly. If defense 12, arm 19, casters, not completely terrible. Although him having 5 jacks on the board would have probably not been much of a help there. So. Yeah, I believe that I made that determination that I wasn't going to really do much to the Springin or take him off the board after I was, doing 2 to the 3 on the first roll with the first unit. So I just basically decided to start going after the assassins. Yep, so I wound up getting a couple good drifts into the Kazi assassins. I believe I needed to roll 7s to kill. So we were missing those. I think I got a couple 6s, got one on there. Yeah, second one wound up not getting much, or none at all. Go with this next unit, walk them up, try to just contest the zone a little bit. Probably not as much as I probably should have. Just should have ran them in, maybe even engaged with the assassins themselves to protect my my objective. Again, this is one of the things that I've found about this list, and I'm new to assassinations. I always like to do an attrition, and also maybe play on scenario. Not as good as that. I'm used to playing Butcher 3 or Butcher in general. He's really good for attrition, but trying to play this mindset, different sides of this game, trying to get all aspects. And one of the things I find with this, with this list and any list that you try to assassinate, you're just gonna wind up assassinate and dead. If you don't get it, you're dead the next turn. One of the things with this list I'm trying to do is, at least if I'm going to go for the assassination, or determine I'm going to go for the assassination before the game even starts, to get as many guys in to put the damage on the caster. And there's been plenty of games where I had 1 or 2 activations off from killing a caster. Mostly 1 activation. If I had an extra rocket, if Victor was within, if one of the mortar crews was in, it would have been a different result. But this time, same thing. So he starts to go off. He goes with Yuri, goes with Manhunter, puts in the damage into Old Witch that he can. And then he starts to go after this scenario. Get some of the control points, get some of the, not necessarily army points, but get the control points that he's going to need to maybe help him further into the league and get him up a spot or 2 if, give him a bonus or 2. Here we're just trying to determine whether this Manhunter can really get the +3. I believe he can. It's a big base, and he's playing with a small base. And Joe thought that he was not going to be able to, so I believe he just determines he's just going to walk up and go right after her and just swing with the 3 dice. He starts to activate spring in and charge in, but then I point out, just go after those control points before you finish the game. Get those control points, because that really is key to getting yourself up a spot in the scrum. You could be in 11th or 10th place, or heck, even 4th and the 3rd. If you have more control points than the guy that's ahead of you, you jump right in and get you in there. So it's one of those things that we want to, that I wanted to help him out with, to make sure that if he does get into, if he winds up winning his next 2 games, it can get him up a spot and have the control points. Because right now in this situation where we're at, me not putting anybody in the bottom zone at all, which he could have cleared even if I did, he is going to get 4 points. So he goes and gets the objectives with the charging Kazis. The rest of them, I believe he has 4 shots into my 3 Widowmakers. Clears them out as quickly as he can. At this point, he's contemplating on running the Widowmakers. I thought that the Widowmaker Marksman could put the 3 points into Old Witch, which would bring her down to 4. So we determine run the Widowmakers in, get that extra point for them being a unit in the circle zone, and then move the marksman in, take the shot, do 3 points, and she'll be down to 4 points. And he still has 4 jacks to activate. So with no focus on her, that is not going to be a good result. Winds up moving in the destroyer, get the point off of there. Shoots into the the mortar crew. It's a good. I thought that was afterwards, after we counted up the points. It's army points for him. He's not going to take out units of the rockets, a full unit. So if he takes those guys out, he winds up getting 10 points right there. Again, just to help him move up a spot if he needs to. Winds up charging in with the springing. Easily hits. He needs a 4s to hit, I believe, and charge dice. Good game. GG. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. What FFB is trying to accomplish here is that we're going to be recording the semifinals and finals of the March South Jersey Scrum League. So we'll get those up, have the players do some commentary afterwards, and give out what they were thinking during the game, what they were doing during their lists, and so on and so forth. For the next Scrum, we will probably try to start to do a weekly recording. It won't be necessarily anybody in particular, but it will most likely be anybody that wants to make a fool of themselves as much as I did in this video. And I wanted to thank, special thanks out to Gibby. He's always a good person to play against, and it's always fun, and definitely always learn something from this. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do here, is have fun and also learn and become a better player. If you have any comments or questions, just put them down below, and I'll probably ignore them, and just go from there. So enjoy and have fun. Take it easy, guys.
Blah, blah, blah.